Good. While we go there, at C-Dubs, the best game of the tournament in the round of 16, without any exaggeration, is a West Coast matchup between LAFC and Seattle. Can you talk to me about Seattle, who finished second in Group C, 1-1-1, 4 goals for, 2 goals against, and LAFC, who finished second in Group F with one. What? That's not right. I have one win, 2 ties. 1 win, 2 ties, 11 goals for, and 7 goals against. Just tell me about it a little bit. Tell me what you think, who you're watching, who you think needs to do better.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about this game.
Just a little bit.
It's just a little bit because it's kind of a good game, kind of, whatever.
It's not FCC Vancouver.
It's also not Montreal Orlando, but we can't have banger games every time. Anyway, Seattle. They were disappointing for their first 2 games of the tournament. But just as I said in their 3rd game prediction, they came through when they needed it most. And they were slow to start. And that's kind of, that's something that's a little bit more common with Seattle. It seems like in the past, they've been a little slower to start seasons out. And then they kind of get a rhythm going. And, they really get it together at the end of the season when they really kick it into gear. So my thinking is that it's going to be the same thing here. You're slow starting the tournament. The first 2 games, they really looked like they started to kick it into gear against Vancouver. Can they keep it in gear now? So through the first 2 games when they were disappointing, the attack was lackluster and the defense wasn't necessarily great either. And then the last game, obviously, they completely flipped the switch and looked more like the Seattle we know. Some of their better players for the knockout stage for me was Nuhu, Svensson, and Lodero. But their best player, in my opinion, was Jordan Morris. And I think he's really starting to become a more consistent star in this league. And I think the biggest thing for him is staying healthy. Hopefully he does, because when he's out there playing, he looks like a really good player. And I want to say that they can continue this momentum into the knockout stage. I think that they will, and that's going to make them super dangerous, just as they always are in knockout stages. One of the players that I want to see improve is Arriaga, because he didn't look great in the knockout stages.
I agree.
But if he can turn it around and kind of get it together with Andrade, I think they could be super solid defensively. And then you already have Morris and Lodero and Rui Diaz up top, who are, they're good for some goals. So, like I said, if he can get it together, Seattle might be the most dangerous team in this entire tournament, honestly. And then LAFC. LAFC without Vela was definitely a big question mark for some people, because we were definitely not sold on their defense early in the year. And we didn't know what the attack would look like without their star guy. And while defense definitely still hasn't looked great, the attack was just as dominant, and they showed up in a massive way. With that being said, defense really needs to figure it out, because they conceded the joint 2nd highest amount of goals in the entire tournament. And if for whatever reason their attack dries up, then LAFC could be in some big trouble if the defense continues to play the way that they did. One thing I'm going to be looking for is some consistency in the back line, because between the 4 defenders and the goalkeeper, in all 3 of the games, it was never consistent in any 2 games. So each time there was different players in that group of 5 people. I want to see if they take maybe that same defense that they played against Portland, or are they going to change it up again? I think this lack of consistency is not helping with them getting some chemistry in the back line and playing better. Now, in terms of the attack, obviously, as I said, Vela was the question mark. Who is going to step up and fill his void? And while you could probably say Rossi has done it the most, I think it's really been a combination of players. I think it's been Rossi, I think it's been Rodriguez, and I think it's been BWP. I would say Rossi was probably their best player, seeing as how he scored 4 goals in 1 game, especially against their rival. But I think Rodriguez has been their most consistent performer. He's really stepped up, And as JR told us, the curse of the third DP, he's looking like, I don't want to, obviously it's very early, a small sample size, but it's looking like he might be able to break that curse. And then BWP he's all reliable up top still. People might have thought he was done, but he's gone out in there proving that he can still score goals for them. And he's been really solid for them. My worry for them is if Rossi falls off, like he did more so in the Portland game, can Rodriguez and BWP step up and fill that void for the attack? Because I'm still not sold on the defense, and I feel like there's still a lot of uncertainty there. And if that's the case, if they do fall off, if the attack does fall off and they don't fill the void with other players, I feel like this LAFC team is definitely beatable. And based on that, I want to say Seattle take this one 3-2.
Very interesting. I think the biggest thing for me is that back line, right? That back line, just 7 goals against in 3 games.
It's not good.
Not great, right? Not great.
No.